to our special coverage on the Australian federal election 2022. Today, we'll be discussing the issue of long-term parent visa, how this impacts the community, and the campaign that is being run to make long-term visa for parents much more easier and accessible. Joining us today is Mariana Giordana, a Melbourne-based fashion and graphic designer. She has been running the campaign Clear Parents Visa Backlog, hashtag, in fact, it's hashtag Clear Parents Visa Backlog, and is a part of the website, which is called AussieVisaForParents.au. I'll put in the link here as well for you to check that. We also have with us Mihir Rajpal, a software engineer. He applied for parent visa in 2019 and still awaiting the outcome. He will be talking about his experience. I'll first start with Mariana. Can you give us a brief about what long-term visa is and the issue with long-term visa for which you have been campaigning for?
So we actually been campaigning for the parents visa and mostly for clearing the backlog. So at the moment, there is a few way of getting our parents coming to Australia. There is a temporary way, but this is just like a 3 month or 6 months visa, and they need to turn back home, or they can go for a permanent visa. And there's several options on the permanent visa. The one that is costing a lot of money called contributory parents visa, which cost per parents nearly $50,000. So this is like a cost of $100,000 for a couple to be able to come over to Australia. This visa was planned to help with a lot of, issue in supporting the family and Australian resident here, with helping, parents helping with childcare, helping with, raising a family and supporting, and the fact that, it's a part of like a family reunion process. That contributing parents visa was very expensive and claimed to be much faster, and it used to be treated in like 2 or 3 years, which is no longer the same at the time. With the actual backlog and the annual cap that's been decreasing over the last nearly 10 years, the backlog had reached to the point to be 100,000 application on hold. When you think there is only 6,000 parents application validated per year, that the cap have been slightly improved from 4,500 to 6,000 just after COVID, but it used to be much bigger before, 10,000. We're looking at an average of 18 years process time for parent visa. How parents mostly come around the age of 60, it's an average. By the time they reach the time their application might be granted, they're around 80. How many of our parents still be alive or still be able to resettle or travel even to Australia? This is like a major issue. So we're actually really trying to raise the awareness of how parents are bringing so much to not just the family, but also all the community and to Australia by bringing a lot of important part. And it's really, it's heartbreaking for so many of us.
Yeah, Mariana, you have pointed out some really, really important issue here. And what I have seen and what I've heard from the community about parents' visa, especially the permanent one, per person having around 50,000, visa fee, and then the processing time of 3 to 5 years. And as you mentioned, that for some, it might just go to 15 years due to backlog. And it is quite a huge issue. And I do think that there needs to be a specific attention given to this whole backlog issue. We have with us Mihir, and Mihir applied for his long-term visa in 2019, and he's still awaiting the outcome. Mihir, how has this affected you? And do you know if there are other people in a similar situation like yours?
Yeah, this has had like a very detrimental effect on me and like on my family, because when we applied for the visa at the time, waiting time was like 3 years. So, and I had a sister who was 17 years at the time. So like she's dependent on my mother, and my father passed away a few years ago. So it's just my mother and sister at the moment back in India. And so yeah, we had planned to have my sister and my mother over here. So by the time the visa would have come in, she would have still been 20. And like we could have like started our life over here, right? But now, like the visa, as Mariana mentioned, it's going to take like well over a decade maybe depending on the processing time right now. So, and by the time that visa comes through, my sister would be like over the year of 23 years of age, which is the cutoff limit for, like, having dependents on an application. So my sister won't be able to come here. So yeah, I mean, I've been separated from my family for like almost a decade now, and like looking at the future, I don't think like anytime in the near future like I'll be able to reunite with my family. So yeah, I mean, it has caused a lot of depression and stress to me, and again, like same thing with my family, because we've been apart for so long.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I know like there are many people, especially if you go to the website for the parents campaign, there are like probably like tens, maybe hundreds of people who have like given out their experiences, and and like they are all in the same boat. Yeah,
Yeah, and I do think that, even when you pay up to 50,000 or more,
exactly.
and
Yeah,
then it's not easy for anyone to, save that amount. And then once you have saved that amount, and then still there is a kind of an uncertainty around the
exactly.
visa, it really creates a whole lot of trouble. So
Yeah,
there's another kind of an issue which is related to the long-term parent visa, and this is with connected with the childcare issue. And I would like to ask Mariana, would you be able to provide us with some insight regarding how and why long-term visa for parents helps in childcare and also takes away the burden from the government? And you have, briefly touched upon that earlier, but if you can give a bit more detail, then that would be great.
Yes, sure. Actually, we have looking at numbers, and it's quite evident that family actually prefer what we call informal childcare. That means like grandparents and like friends and that kind of thing. We are talking about like 33% of the population that have a family that would prefer having access to grandparents in terms of raising their children. It's a major issue because, of course, we all know childcare is super expensive, and the availability, it's really, there is a shortage of childcare everywhere. It's really very important, but there is also the problem of the issue of the flexibility, because so many women working in casual work, or even like frontline workers, they have extended hours. They work early morning, they finish late, they can work on the weekend and everything. And this is a major issue to standard childcare. So on top of the price and the availability, there is a major issue in the flexibility. On top of that, there have been a few research that have been pinpointed that family and mother in particularly are really, they choose their childcare, no matter if it's like formal or informal, they choose it to be based on the well-being of the children. And this is an important fact. We all know grandparents, this is the best way for taking care and looking after the children. Not only how they can provide like flexibility and support and everything, they are really here like to bring also a sense of like all what the grandparents can bring. And it's very important, and it's bringing not just to the family but for all Australia, because it's a value that needs to be brought fully. And the issue is because migrant like us, who doesn't have their family close by, have no access to that kind of childcare. And this is like, it's so many of ours are just like, we can't go back to work. We actually have a very limited access to work because of that. And this is really, parents could really help, when parents could really help in that issue. And like we can really bring them towards helping the childcare. And I know it's a major issue for all parties right now, but they need to understand that what the requirement and the need of the childcare. It's not just also just opening more childcare or whatever, but it's also important to understand that what family wants, and family wants a childcare that is more accessible to them, and in a way that is more flexible. And it's mostly the choice goes to their grandparents. So that could really help the economy altogether.
Yeah, Mariana, what you are pointing out is very valid and something very important, and I totally agree with you. What would be your tip for people applying for the long-term visa, and what have you seen around the campaign for long-term visa?
I mean, personally, like with the current wait time, I don't even think like it's worth applying for. But yeah, I mean, if you were to apply for it, like yeah, of course, do your due diligence, and like, there's information available on government's website, but it's not enough, because like at the time when I applied, it said like the wait period was 3 years, which was really, I mean, incorrect, so to speak, because the wait period even at the time was actually much higher. And I realized it only after making the application over the years. So yeah, do your due diligence and like, think about it. And it's very much worth it to like explore other options if you can, rather than like bringing your parents over here. Maybe like if possible, it might be easier for you to move back. I mean, I know that's what I have been considering for sure. So yeah, just yeah, think about it. Yeah.
So that's quite a big decision about moving back. And
Yeah.
has it brought you to that kind of a situation that you feel in a kind of a corner where you have to make this way or that way kind of a decisions?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it's not going to happen all of a sudden. Again, like it's a big life decision, but it's definitely something that I haven't ruled out at all. And yeah, I mean, uh, bottom line is I want to stay with my family. And then if it comes between like, just like, I mean, if I have to choose like where I need to stay, then yeah, I might need to like go back to India, or like, go to a different country or something like that, where I can live with my mother and my sister. As it's as simple as that.
Well, that's understandable, and I hope things work out for the
Yeah,
best for you. That's
absolutely.
one thing which,
Yeah,
and I hope this campaign takes enough wind so that some
yeah,
resolution or something can be expedited, and things like this are not a kind of a regular feature. So I would like to get your final kind of inputs and things maybe you want to put through as your kind of a final perspective. So Mariana, would you like to say any last words before we go?
Yeah, sure. I really wish we can actually raise that issue out loud. This is really, so many people are not aware of what us, like Australian and permanent resident, are going through. And it seems for so many Australian, of course, it's normal to have their parents easily accessible, maybe even far away in Australia, but it's accessible. Like we are talking about our parents overseas, where the uncertainty and they are in a limbo for so long is affecting the full family. And as me, as so many of us are actually thinking of leaving Australia because of that. And it's so sad because Australia is such a wonderful country. And it's difficult, that it's not an easy decision, but it's like, like family is everything, we all know that, and it's important to keep that value. And I'm hoping that governments, whoever's going to be elected, is going to understand the value. And it's not just about the question of budget, which is a very limited vision. Grandparents are bringing much more than just numbers, and it's about people behind, and how Australia is a multicultural country. And it's important. I hope that our politician can really understand that is a major issue, and all the lies that have been going around that issue regarding the time frame and everything. It's need to be addressed, and you can't just lie to people and just like hoping for whatever income. And it's just have to be out there, and people can understand the suffering that we are going through.
Yeah, thanks, Mariana, for throwing light and giving this particular an understanding on this perspective. And I can understand the kind of pain that you are going through. And as a campaigner, you have shared so much that what you have seen around, it has really impacted you, not only through your the personal kind of journey, but also looking at other people and the kind of plight this whole visa issue brings to them. Mihir, any last words from your side?
Yeah, I really hope like this campaign, yeah, I mean, picks up and creates some awareness and compels the government to like think hard about this issue. And I really think like it makes it's just common sense to like have families together. It just like helps people, not just economically, like there's 50,000 just for, like per person the government is getting for the visa. On top of that, most of the times like parents would have savings in their home country, depend like based on their work, like throughout their life they'll obviously be bringing all of that to Australia. And on the other side, like if you see, if like I just as I mentioned, like I might be thinking of moving back, so in that case you'll have like a reverse flow of money, where like people will take away their savings from Australia and like go back to their country. And also like for grandchildren especially, like it's very important to have their grandparents around. I mean, I grew up with my grandparents, and I know like the kind of man I am, like it's not just because of my parents. Like it's because of the bedtime stories that my grandmother told me. It's because of the values that my grandfather put into me. So I mean, it's absolutely very important to have your parents and grandparents with you. And yeah, I really hope that the government does something about it.
Yeah, I hope so, and I agree with your perspective. And it is a cultural issue, and especially from various different cultures, the association with grandparents and that kind of proximity with grandparents is a kind of an important aspect, and which should not be ignored. And I hope something can be done. And I wish you both all the best with your campaign. And we hope to see some positive changes, and we want to see politicians making some important decision in terms of the long-term parent visa. Thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you. Thanks a lot, Vikrant.